Okay.
And today you moved down.
Eddie hasn't been sitting in my row for a number of days.
Okay.
I mean, it's been Sid.
Morning, Jeff.
Okay.
Let me ask Ruben.
All right.
Ruben,
The color.
do you know the number of the when we listen to the on Zoom for this year?
You mean how to dial in?
Yeah, there's a number for this year and a password.
I think the person that might
You
have
told
that
me
information-
Andrea.
No, but Bob Rumble,
Bob is
Bob.
also a
he
I thought,
he
Since
might
Ru-
have it.
Bucky Bob.
I think Ruven uses a different method, right?
oh, he
Ruven?
does.
Ruven uses the method that you go to the weekly
Right.
shiurim and click on
Right.
that. That's the one that I was
The one that you
suggesting
mentioned
to
to
you
me.
yesterday, because then you don't have to worry about putting a number
know,
in and a
But I
password.
didn't see me. Let me see what we can share.
Okay, while you're looking at that, I'm going to start
Acknowledge.
the learning sponsors. Okay, the year of learning, friends of Nina Monester, Nechama Asna, Bad Yitzchak Aharon, many friends of Stephen Vigder, Lezecher Nishmat Simcha Melech Ben Meir Leib Halevi, friends of Marcy Kurtz in memory of her great niece Leah Bracha, Isaac and Evelyn Blachler in memory of his sister Chaya Rachel Bas Isser. A month of learning by Gary and Marsha Schrager in memory of his father David Ben Yosef and his mother Freda Bas Hendel. Marsha Federbush in memory of her husband Oriel Pinchas Ben Arav Shimon. Andrea and David Dolmy in memory of her father Tzvi Herschel Hillel Ben Avraham. Dov Budlander in memory of his father Tzvi Ben Yaakov Yitzchak, his mother Bela Devasha Bas Arav Dov Berish, his father-in-law Yehuda Tzvi Ben David Nachum, and his mother-in-law Alta Chaya Bas Avram Yosef. Mel and Haran Haller in memory of his father Avram Ben Zev. A week of learning by Judy Iger in memory of her son Yerachmiel Ben Aharon. Today is the 14th, and therefore we have a day of learning by Ruth Kostman in memory of her mother-in-law Sarah Bat Eliezer. Okay. That is it for today. We're still keeping in mind the refuah shlema for parent Semach Ben Yaakov Yitzchak, and for the Bachor Moshe Ruven Ben Sima Tabela, okay, and all of those others that we keep in mind when we say Mishaberes. I'm going to ask Bob. Bob was able to find that that last time. What?
I will ask my daughter.
Right. So
Let me ask Bob, do you have the number of this year if we want to listen in?
Yes,
The number and the password?
yes, I. 493
19342.
no, you got to.
808.
You know what? Let Bob or Harvey send it to you to your email,
Okay.
and then you'll have it, and then you'll be able to be.
Harvey, would you send it to me to my email?
Yeah, send it.
My
Send it.
email is Zeevkip, Zeevkip.
Yeah,
It's in the book, I think.
yeah.
Zevkit.
Okay.
But I spelled it
With two
Zeev,
E's.
two E's.
Zev. Zev.
It's not
Zeev.
Zeev, it's Zeev.
Zeev. But you don't have the apostrophe.
I can't put an apostrophe.
Sure you can.
on
Oh,
the
maybe email address.
I don't think it takes, it doesn't
And
take an
email
apostrophe.
doesn't recognize. All right,
Okay.
whatever.
All right.
So,
Okay. Okay.
Ruben said you got to the bottom.
Yeah, I'm going to quickly review the Ilfa story, and then we'll go right into the new material.
That's
Okay.
a weird story.
All right, I do want to make public the fact that I apologize again for the katata from yesterday with Michael, that I went back and looked at the Gemara again. I misread a note in Koren, when it translated the fact that it was a large estate. Okay, it seemed to imply that the money went to the estate, and that therefore, for that reason, and again, a steward or an apotropos would have to be appointed for the young girl who had not married yet, even though the brother had died. When I went through it again, okay, I saw that it was implying instead what was saying that what happened was because she was getting, as Michael suggested, less than 50% of the estate, even with that regard for that purpose, that's why she was being mavater on the 1/10 of the estate for the dowry. Okay, so I wanted to just clarify that again from,
I apologize to you for my
you know,
excessive strike.
okay,
Oh,
all right, for that.
Don't I?
Okay, for that.
Ruben, poor old Ruben, when we yell at each other, he's caught in the middle.
Ruben also,
Okay.
very good. You see the
Okay.
bunch on thing. And I
Okay.
apologize too for something.
Oh, God.
But it's important. It's important that, you know, we do try to learn so that we have a better understanding of the Gemara. Okay, and you know, I've noticed that, and that's something we'll discuss privately another time too. Okay, the cookies, are they ready? Yeah. Okay, just quickly, I'm going to pick up on the bottom of Kaf Samech Tet Amud Beis, about 5-6 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, about 6 lines from the bottom. I want to quickly review the Alpha story. And Ilfa, remember we said basically there was a vacancy at the head of the yeshiva, and the question was, Ilfa had gone to work, Rabbi Yochanan had gone to work, Ilfa continued, Rabbi Yochanan came back, and Rabbi Yochanan was made the head of the yeshiva. Ilfa thought it was because of his lack of prowess in learning, and therefore he's up there on the top of the mast of a ship, okay, and he basically says to them the following, Ilfa tala nafshe be'iskler de mechuta, he was standing on the mast of the ship, Amar ika da'ate da'amar li milta, the Bei Rabbi Chia v'Rabbi Yoshaya, is there something that somebody can bring, okay, that was stated in through the academy of Rabbi Chia v'Rabbi Yoshaya? Remember, they were actually considered the editors of the Tosefta. So is there somebody that can bring a shaila based on a braita? He's saying, V'lo pashtina le mimat nidin, and I can't answer it from our Mishnah. Okay, so what happens? Nafila me'iskaria v'tavana, I'll fall from the mast and I'll drown. Ata ahu saba, along came a older man, Tanale, and he taught Ha'omer, he says, Tanu shekel l'bnei b'Shabbat, give 1 shekel a week to my son as his inheritance. Okay, v'ru'oyin litain lahem sela, but it may be that he's worthy, needs actually a seller per week. Notnim lahem sela, so they give him a seller. V'imamar al titnu lahem ela shekel, and notnim lahem ela shekel. But if he clearly says you don't give him anything more than a shekel, you don't give him more than a shekel. V'imamar im metu yeshu achirim tachteim, and if he were to say that it died, give it to others, the inheritance. Bein shamar tnu, bein shamar al tnu, whether he says to give to them or says not to give to them, ein notnim lahem ela shekel, you do not give other than the shekel. Okay, so amar le hai mani. So that's where we stopped really at the end there, according to whom. Okay, so we pick up now on the top of ayin, right? Amud Aleph. That should be our daf for today, right? And we do so as we're going to be finishing a new parak, the old parak, and getting to a new one. Okay? So the Gemara suggests Rabbi Meir, that it was Rabbi Meir's view, the Amar mitzvah lekayim divrei hamet, that it is a mitzvah to satisfy the words of the deceased. Okay, his will or his dying
This is
statements,
declaration.
things like that. Amar Rav Chisda, Amar Mar Ukva. Says as follows. Sid, everything okay with Sid? I noticed he wasn't at shul this morning. Was he at the early minyan?
No,
No? Okay,
I didn't see him.
okay. Amar Rav Chisda, Amar Rav Mar Ukva. He says, Hilchata, Bein she'amar tnu, Bein she'amar al titnu. Whether he says to give or whether he doesn't, says don't give. Notnin lehem kol tzorkam. We give them what they need, all of their needs. Ha, kaimalan halacha Rabbi Meir. Here then it shows that we do maintain and support the view that the law is according to Rabbi Meir.
No, that's
Okay.
now a question.
Okay.
Why you're gonna change what he
Okay.
said, but we say you
Ha,
have to.
kaimalan halacha Rabbi Meir. Damar mitzvah l'kayim divrei hamid. Okay, interesting that you point. You're right, language-wise. I'm just surprised that punctuation-wise, it
Our
wasn't.
scroll
Has
a question mark in it.
yeah, it should.
It
It's
should,
right.
it does.
But I'm saying I'm surprised Corin did not. Okay.
Ours actually has an exclamation point.
Question mark and exclamation mark.
Okay.
Should have both,
But-
really.
In any event, we just said.
Right. Don't we say that?
Exactly what the guy said.
Says
He's
on his
specific.
deathbed. Okay, so what happens? Hani mili b'mili acharineta. That's in regards to other matters. He says, aval baha, in this, meinach nechale. We're saying it should be appropriate for him. Why? Because we're going to assume that he would want what's
That
right
guy would
for
want
his
to-
Daughter,
progeny,
right.
right? Vaha amar hachi. And why then would he have said such a statement?
Only give a shekel.
Right? Why? Hachi, right? Lezariz nahu hu da'ata. He comes to encourage thrifty habits on their behalf. That's what it says. Okay, let's go on. Now, we're going to get to another little interesting difference of a view, too. Tnan hatan. It was taught there. Hapeutot mekhan mekach umemkaran mecher kimetaltalin. Okay. Now, if you look at Rashi, it's three lines down on the page. Now, this is an interesting difference here. Okay. Rashi gives us a very clear definition of the term peutot. Tinakot b'nei teisha u'shmona k'da'amrinin b'haneziki. Okay, so Rashi's statements based on the Gemara previously is that it's 8 or 9 years old. Okay, surprisingly, Koren suggested it's anyone between the ages of 6 to 10 years old. It was not as specific as Rashi. I tried to follow up why, in other words, who they would have based it on rather than Rashi. Okay, but it was clear, I would say from both of them, that after a child has reached, let's say 9 or 10 years old, apparently they were considered capable of understanding enough about business, okay, that they could be involved in certain kinds of business deals.
Well, it's like it's going to the Cheldony and buying bus.
Okay,
Our
that would be
scroll
an,
does bring
yeah,
a note
yeah,
that there are some that say they can get in that's from 6.
okay. All right, so that could be, it could be that one. Maybe Corin could have seen it that way. All right, but what's important here for us, okay, is to indicate, okay, clearly here that at to what age are we saying that a child, a minor here, that his involvement in business deals, right, sales and purchases is valid, at least in terms of metaltal.
Yeah, I
Okay.
also has a note that it's the maturity of, so this whole thing is a guesstimate as to the, based on the maturity
of the
any
child.
given
Right. Okay. Amar Rafram, says Rafram, lo shanu ela she'ein sham apotropos. We said this, or we taught this when there was not an apotropos, a steward, or to supervise the financial affairs of these minors. Okay, aval yesh sham apotropos. Okay, and again, remember we talked about the other day the fact that we often see Greek words like this and but less Persian ones. So again, bringing that
I
up.
think,
Yeah.
Ruben and I talked about this yesterday. I think there's a difference between a parnes and an apotropos. A parnes is the equivalent of today. You have the bank is the trustee on a trust, and they follow various instructions of how much to dole out, et cetera, et cetera. The apotropos is on a day-to-day basis the guardian. So sometimes if a kid is 11 and a half by their standards, he wouldn't need an apotropos. He would be able to buy his own clothes, buy his own food. But when it came to spending the estate money, buying something, he would have to go to the partners.
Yeah, but in terms of shemos, if you listen, there are people who are called partners.
Yeah, but that's
Well, wait a second.
Right.
So they have a last name partners.
Yeah, and you never hear a guy called apotropos.
true.
It's-
That's true. By the way, it's
Sure,
common in the
sure.
Sephardic synagogues that they have somebody with the title Parnas.
Right.
Okay, and they have more of a gabbai, but plus
Right.
Yeah.
role as well.
Right.
Okay,
Executive
I thought you were going to
director.
tell me about Batman and Robin in that story. Okay, all right. You don't know Batman and Robin?
Yeah, Bakes,
I know who they were.
Okay, that was the position that Batman had vis-a-vis
Oh,
Robin.
Batman was the
He was-
Pardes and Robin.
No,
was the-
no,
Who
Batman was the Robin was the ward
Oh.
to Batman.
Oh,
Okay, all right. Aval yesh sham
apologize for
apotropos.
not reading
Okay.
that.
Right? Okay. All right. But see, it has Torah in it there. Okay. So what happens? But when there is a steward, a guardian, ein mekhan mekach ve'ein memkaran mekach. Then in that case, there any sale that they try to do or any purchase that is not valid.
That was just from
Okay.
the-
Mimai, based on what? Midikatani, ein ma'asek tana klum. That any legal act on the part of a minor is not valid. Vidilma, hecha deika shalish shani. But the Gemara asks, perhaps where there is a third party, okay, that is intervening, okay, could be the atropos, the parnas, okay, or somebody else. Shani, maybe that's different. There clearly that's a question. Imkain litne aval b'ktana ya'aseh shalish ma shehushlash biyado. If that's the case, then let us teach that in regards to a minor, let the third party carry out the designations, the instructions that they've been given. My ein ma'asek tanaklum. What then do we mean when we say that the legal act or no business acts by a minor is appropriate? Shmamina afilu ba'alma. Here, this we say in general, which Koren suggests was particularly regarding karka.
Right.
That was the situation.
Because
Okay,
Right.
a land transaction
right.
by a child is not valid until he's an adult. And if he tries to sell family properties, he can't do it till he's 20.
Okay. All right. Hadran alach metziat ha'isha. That is that. Okay. Right now, in our new parak, okay, chapter 7, we're going to get more into the issue of the obligations that the husband has towards his wife or the wife has towards her husband. Okay, we know that there are very clear obligations for the husband. Okay, and we're going to, okay, and there are some that have been spelled out previously, we saw in the Gemara for the wife. Okay, but this parak is going to deal with more of the details of those kinds of situations. Okay.
There's also a language problem.
Okay, well, we'll get to that. Okay, Hamadir et ishto melehanot lo. One who takes a vow, okay, that his wife will not benefit from him. Ad shloshim yom, up to 30 days. Yeah, all right. In other words, at that time, ya'amid parnas. Okay, and notice you're right that here they use the word parnas as opposed to the word that we saw before, apotropos. Okay, all right. Here one appoints a parnas. Now, in this case, we're calling it a trustee or a steward. All right. Yeter mikain, if it's more than 30 days, yotzi v'yitain ketubah. He must divorce her and give her her ksuba. Okay. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, says Rabbi Yehuda, Be Yisrael, and I'm going to define this not as a geographic term, but a demographic term, namely that we're talking about an Israelite in this case. Okay. Okay. What happens? Chodesh echad yikayem, says Rabbi Yehuda. He can still maintain her, still be with her. Okay, for 1 month. Okay, ushnayim, but as of the second month,
More than one.
right? In other words, yotzi v'yitain ketubah. He must give her a get, give her divorce, and pay her ketubah. B'kohen, okay, regarding a kohen, and that's why again tells us clearly that B'Yisrael there is a demographic, not a geographic term. Okay, with regards to kohen, however, what do we see? Shnayim yikayim. He may remain with her for 2 months. Ushlosha, and on the 3rd month, beginning of the 3rd month, yotzi v'yitain ketubah. He must divorce her and give her her ksuba. Okay. Now, Koren's explanation was, okay, since the Kohen cannot marry a divorcee, therefore, if he regrets it, okay, he
Give him
can't
longer.
take her back, okay, and therefore, that's why they give him
That's
more
right.
time. Okay.
That's Rashi's.
Okay.
Are they
So
assuming
he
that the
gets
vow will be
extra time.
annulled after it's edited?
No, it's not annulled because an annulment means as if it never happened.
Yeah.
Okay, this isn't an annulment. This is clearly divorce.
But suppose he regrets his vow and he wants to do something about it.
So
Before he
then he can go
divorces,
That's why he's got the extra month.
2 months.
That's why
No,
he's got 2 months
Regretting
instead
the
of 1
vow
month.
applies in any case. Here we're saying, if their katata extends for more than a month, where he says, I'm not gonna pay for the food, I'm not gonna make.
all right, suppose he regrets it in the 2nd month then.
So a regular guy can remarry her,
He could remarry,
but a
but a
Kohen
Kohen
cannot.
can't.
So we give the Kohen a longer cooling
Extra
off
time.
period.
You know, they say Kohanim's reason.
So what does he have to do in his calling?
Right?
He has to regret it in 2
In
months?
within
Right.
2 months.
Within 2 months.
Just like a normal guy has to regret it
Within 1
or
month.
this isn't even regretting. This is for the next
He has to
16 days. I'm not paying. for
Right.
the
So
food.
that, but if it's a vow, that's the point. Hamadir, if it's a vow, remember within that time period, he can go and find somebody to,
Yeah, but
to-
here we're assuming he didn't.
right, that he didn't. But theoretically, to answer
He
Zev's
could be
question,
Matzineh,
he could just
I don't
have
know.
somebody matir his
and
net.
that
The
is
English
going to
says-
impact the next
Of
clause
course,
because
of course.
it doesn't mean what it says it means.
All right,
The English says that he made a vow.
Right.
right,
Right.
right,
So if he chooses, he can be matzah. But what if he doesn't?
right.
Okay.
What
then
if he sticks to it?
that's
So
what I
if
was-
it's a 29-day vow, it's fine.
that's
But
what I
if
was
it's a
asking, but-
40-day vow, he
Right,
has
then
to
he's off
divorce.
to lochas. All right, hamadir et ishto shelo titom echad mikol haperot. One makes a vow that his wife cannot taste any particular a particular kind of fruit. Okay, what happens? And this is after the 30 days. Yotzi v'yitain ketubah.
No, this
You-
is before the 30.
Doesn't make a
days.
difference.
This is
There's no time frame.
immediate.
There's no time frame.
This
All
is
right,
without
then I'll
a
go
time.
back and look at that because that was a clear
No,
note.
that's the Kiddush. And then the other Kiddush is that that if you, I'm cheating, but if you look weiter.
All right, let's
what
wait,
happened
let's
is
wait,
she
wait till,
says
let's
the
wait till we
vow.
get to
Yeah,
it,
but
okay?
otherwise it's inexplicable.
Well, then we'll come back, okay? Achad mikol perot yotzi v'yitain k'tuba. Okay, and we'll follow up on that question there on that, whether that's immediate or the 30 days. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, he says, Be Yisrael, with regards to an Israelite, Yom Echad Yikayim, Shnayim, okay, for one day, that's the implication. Okay, Shnayim, if it's 2 days, Yotzi v'yitain k'tuba. By the second day, he must divorce her and give her ksuba, pay her ksuba. Uba kohen, Shnayim, okay, and with regards to a kohen, we say there we give him, again, in a somewhat extended time, 2 days, Yikayim, Shlosha, third day, Yotzi v'yitain k'tuba. Again, he must divorce her and give her the ksuba, pay the ksuba. Third case in the Mishnah, Hamadir et ishto shelo titkashet be'echad mikol hamini. Okay, in this case, he is taking a vow that she is not able to use a particular perfume, okay, during, from all these various varieties.
And here it's open end.
Okay, v'yotzi v'yitain k'tuba.
I mean, my note says that she makes the vow and he.
That's what
Okay.
the Gemara is going to explain.
All right, so
Later
that
on.
we're gonna, the question is,
That's what Rashi says, that because it's very difficult to understand, how can he make a vow on
Yeah.
her to
He
ask her?
can't.
Okay.
That's why Rashi says, it's speaking about she made the vow and he
In
was
the first
Makayim the
case, he's making the vow on himself.
self.
So
Right.
that's not a problem.
that's right, you're saying the problem Rashi feels
Right.
is
For
that,
everybody. I mean, it's a halacha. I can't vow that you're never
right,
going to
is that you can make a vow on your own self,
Right, but not
but
on
you can't
anybody
make a
else.
vow regarding somebody else.
So you have
And
to
that this would be a vow being made on her,
which is
as
in-
a-
But
Suppose-
she's making the
okay.
vow on
So what you have to say is that she says, "I'll never use Chanel number 5 again," and he doesn't say a word.
and
So
he doesn't
he
forbid her vow.
doesn't
Break
cancel.
her.
And that applies to the I won't eat apples again, or my wife chocolate.
Okay, well, all right, that, we'll get to that
I
in
mean,
more
that's how you
detail.
have to learn.
No, I understand that, and I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying, let's go on and to clarify. Okay, so this is our third example, okay, where the language seems to imply that he was making the vow,
Right.
but that we have to understand it differently, because how could he make a vow on her? Okay, it's only a vow, he's only able to make a vow on himself. Okay, so what happens? Okay, here it says that that's an immediate situation that he must divorce her and pay the ketubah. Rabbi Yossi Omer, ba'aniyot, okay, ba'aniyot, shelo natan kitzva, with regarding to those that are poor, okay, what is the situation? If he did not give a fixed time, all right? Ba'ashirot shloshim yom. And with regards to those that are well-to-do,
It's in 1 month.
it's a 1-month period, okay? Okay, so Gemara is first going to ask a question, what I'm going to call a conceptual question, okay? Not necessarily a language question, okay? Oftentimes we see the Gemara starts off by asking a question about the language of the Mishnah. Okay, why does it use this language as opposed to that language? I'm going to suggest that we start off with it's a conceptual question. Why? Because if we know that from the Torah, the husband has certain required tasks, let's put it this way, to perform. And we've discussed some of them. Why does he get her earnings, for example? Okay, we discussed that because it was felt that he's feeding her, things like that. Okay, and we saw a previous Mishnah that she also the Mishnah spelled out she had specific tasks that she was expected to perform. Okay, so that's why I'm calling this a conceptual question.
How can we vow not to do
Okay.
what the Torah
If,
requires?
right, so the first question the Gemara asks, V'kevan demishwa'abed la, since he has these obligations that he must provide her with, based on the fact that he's written these things are written in the Ksuba, okay? And we've said, right, Hechi matze madir la. How is it possible for him to make a vow regarding her? Okay. Kol kamine de mafkala l'shiabude. Okay. All of these things. Okay. How can he, so to speak, get out of it? Because he's got these obligations. Right? Vahatnan, as in a taught elsewhere in another Mishnah. Konem she'eni oseh lefichach. Okay, when she says a vow, okay, which we saw previously, I'm making a vow just like a korban. He says that I'm not going to do something for your mouth. In other words, eino tzarich lahafer. There it says he does not have to negate her vow. Alma, therefore,
It's invalid.
okay, kevan de misha'ab de le. Why? Because since she has obligations towards him as well, lav kol kamine de mafkale the shabude. Doesn't she also have these other items that she can't get out of because she's obligated to him? Hachanami, here too, kevan de mishuabad la. Since she also has obligations towards her, right? Lav kol kamine de mafkala l'shabuda. Aren't there all these things that he is not able to get out of? Okay, because he has these obligations to her.
How can he make this never?
Right? So how is that possible? Ella, rather, mitoch sheyachol lomar la, since it's possible for him to say, says the Gemara, Tsei ma'aseh yadech b'mazonotayim, go and out and take your earnings and use that for your sustenance, right? Since that's the case, as we go to the next Amma, right?
That's the, we pretend that's what
Right?
he said.
Ne'aseh, it is as if, and that's going to be a key word here later on in the Gemara. Okay, it is as if, ka'omerla, as if he is actually saying to her, since he has the ability to say it, okay, we're implying it's as if he could have actually said it to her.
So that we say that's what the netter meant.
Okay, Tsei ma'aseh yadayach b'mazonotayach. Go and take your earnings and use that for your sustenance. Since he has the ability, that's how we understood his vow. Okay, what happens? Ve'im ita lah, the Rav Huna Amar Rav. And if we've come to this, it brings us to what Rav Huna said in the name of Rav. The Amar Rav Huna Amar Rav, who said in the name of Rav as follows: Yechola isha shete'amar leba'ala. A woman is able to say to her husband, Eini nozenet ve'eini osa. I'm not going to accept or use your sustenance. I'll give you my earnings. Konem sha'ani oseh lepika. Or take a vow that I am going to give anything for your foodstuffs. Amai eino tzarich lehafer. Why then are we saying that he does not need to negate, nullify her vow?
Now we see a
Okay.
way that it could be valid.
Right? Lema mitoch sheyichola lomar. Is it that we're going to say that since she is able to say, Eini nozenet ve'eini osa, okay, that I'm not going to be sustained by you. I'm going to put it that way, or give you my earnings. Ne'esa, it's as if kamisha omeret lo eini nozenet ve'eini osa. Is it as if she actually said, okay, I'm not going to be sustained by you and give you earnings. Okay, ella rather, lo tema nasa, don't say that it's not considered as if, so to speak, ella ba'omerla, but it's a situation where he could have directly sent to her. Tse'i ma'aseh yadech b'mezonotaya. Take your earnings and use that for your sustenance.
So then what do you need an apitrapa?
Okay, ihachi, if that's the case, parnas lamali. Why then do we need this third party to be involved whatsoever? Bidalos feka. Okay, all right. What we're saying here is that that doesn't suffice, right?
She doesn't.
She
earn
doesn't
enough.
earn
Right,
enough.
right. I'm going to get to that. Okay, it's not sufficient. In other words, what her earnings are not sufficient to maintain the standard of living that
Which
she has. Well, the standard of living. We're going to get to that. What
Well,
that
no, I mean, they're
standard
married, so
is.
she's entitled to
Okay,
continue.
right. Well, that's the point. Going to be a question later on in the Gemara. Okay. So the Gemara says, "I b'delo safka." If you're saying that her earnings are not sufficient, if that's what we're taking, hadar kushyan leduchte, then we come back to our original question that we asked before. Amar Rav Ashi, says Rav Ashi.
Meaning he can't relinquish his
Okay.
obligation.
What's the point is he would still, if her earnings aren't sufficient for her to provide for her means, doesn't he still have the obligation like we raised earlier?
Right.
That's the point.
Right.
Okay. So what happens? Amar Rav Ashi, he says as follows: B'maspeket ledvarim gedolim. We're talking, says Rav Ashi, that it was enough to earn the larger things. In other words, they're her basic requirements. Ve'ena maspeket ledvarim ktanim. But it's not enough for her to handle the lesser items, which means additional items that she needs of her lifestyle. So we're going to get to Hani Dvarim Ktanim, these lesser items. Hechidami. What are we talking about here? Okay. Now, says the Gemara as follows: I deregila baho. Okay, if she's accustomed to them, ha regila baho, then she's accustomed to them. Ve'ilo regila baho, and if she's not accustomed to them, parnas lamala, then why then again do we need this steward, this third party?
Right.
Okay, so we're going to get into an issue where the Gemara is going to deal with the I'm going to sort of advance it at this point a little bit. She was used to a certain lifestyle when she was single. Okay.
She married a Kohen.
Now what happened is she married a Kohen boy. She married somebody and she had to lower her lifestyle. But maybe she's reached a point in that marriage that she cannot continue with that lower lifestyle.
Thought she could do it.
Okay, she was under the impression that she could, but she's no longer satisfied. And therefore, that's part of the question, the issue that the Gemara is trying to deal with. Okay, and that's where we're going to pick up now. Okay, lo sricha. No, says the Gemara, it was necessary. The regila b'bayit b'beit nasha. No, because she was used to a certain lifestyle in her father's house. V'ka megalgela bahade. And she lowered her lifestyle when she married him. Okay? Da amrale, because she thought to herself, said to herself, right? Ad ha'idna delo adratan. Okay? Up to this point, okay, that I was doing without, I was handling it, so to speak, galgalana bahadach.
Before you made the low
Right?
before you made this nether.
Okay.
No, up till
well,
now, when we had
up to now, I was sad. I was willing to suffer.
Right.
suffer, sacrifice to live the lower
But now
lifestyle.
that you're
Okay?
mad at
All right,
me,
but what
I'm-
happens now, says the Gemara, she says to him, Hashta da adarta. Here we get it, Reuben, right?
Right.
Now that you've made this vow that you're not going to permit me to have, you're not going to give me any
anything.
sustenance, so you're not going to, things like that. All right? What happens? Lo matzina the igalgil bahadach. Okay, I'm no longer able to suffer to satisfy the lower lifestyle. Okay? Umay shna ad shloshim yom. If that's the case, why then did our discussion in
Have
our
a
Mishnah
30-day
give
rule.
a 30-day time period? Okay? So the Gemara tells us, ad shloshim yom, up to the 30 days, lo shame ba imshe. That's because people would not have heard about it. There wouldn't be gossip in the community about, hey, you hear so-and-so is,
The
okay,
fighting, Mr. and
right?
Mrs. Schwartz are fighting.
Velo zila ba milta. And there wouldn't be any disgrace for her in that situation, says the Gemara. Tfei, but more than 30 days, as in Century Village, Shame ba imshe, people would hear about it. Vizila ba milta, and there would be a great deal of disgrace for her in that situation. Okay, so that's where they would talk about it at the
I don't know,
pool.
when my
right
wife and I
now.
fight, nobody ever hears about it.
Okay, okay, that's because you don't have neighbors that listen in. Okay,
Now,
okay,
we
All
have a
right.
bridge apartment between
Okay.
us.
all right. Ibayat ema. If you want, I might say it as follows: Shehedira kishehi arusa. Or maybe we're going to try to give a different explanation, namely that he made the vow while this young woman was still betrothed. Arusa mi itla mizone. But we ask the question, when she's in a status of an arusa,
Normally,
does she normally receive any kind of sustenance from him? Shehigiyazman velo nasu. But we say, oh, maybe it was a situation where the time of the wedding occurred and it was delayed. That was the point. Ditnan, as we learned elsewhere in another Mishnah, right? Higiyazman velo nasu. If the time for the wedding date arrived and they did not tie the knot, so to speak, ochlot mishalo v'ochlot betruma. He must give her from his, the fiance must give her food, and if he's a Kohen, he must give her truma. Okay? Umay shna ad shloshim yom. If that's the case, why then do we have the 30 days? Or we could even ask, if he's a Kohen, why does he have the 2 months? Okay? Ad shloshim yom avid shaliach shlichute. Up to 30 days, it's possible that a representative of the husband would carry out his directions.
that's the shlish.
Right? That's the third person. Okay. Fei, more than that, lo avid shliach shlichute. Beyond that, the representative, the third party, will not carry out his directions. Okay, another possible explanation. V'bayit ema. Or if you want, I might say as follows: Shehedira kashehi arusa v'nis eit. That he made the vow when she was betrothed and then married.
And then the date came.
What
during the
happened?
30 days.
So what happens? Nisait, but you said they're married. Okay? Ha, svara v'kabla. In that case, she must have thought about it and accepted the
restriction.
the limitations. Okay? The Amra. Why? Because she could have said to herself, Kisvura ani she'ani yechola lekabel. It's my impression that maybe I'm able to live with this. Achshav, but now, ein ani yechola lekabel. Now, however, I am no longer able to accept it. Right? That's the case. An interesting discussion of psychology here. on the part of Chazal. Okay, right. Emar, the Amrinin Hachig Gabi Mumin. I might say, says the Gemara, that regarding this, we could say that perhaps this is appropriate kind of discussion or situation regarding blemishes.
Then maybe I could live with it and then she can't.
Right.
The husband's disfigured.
Okay, that either one, right? That in this case, there's something about him that she figures, all right, I can live with that disfigurement, this blemish, something
Then she
physical,
realized,
right? Le'inyan mizone,
okay,
mi amrinin hachi. But in regards to providing the sustenance, is it possible that we would say that she could live with
I
that?
think that I could live with
Live
it
with
and then
that?
that changed.
Ella mechavarta de kashaninan meikara, but
We have
must
to go
be
back to the
as
first
we
text.
taught originally, namely with one explanation that she accepted the lower standard of living, okay, for a certain period of time, or the other explanation that they made a vow when she was a fiance and the time to marry arrived and they didn't get married. That's the point. Okay.
Could be her father promised her support for a year. So for the first year, she was okay.
Okay, that could also be. a
That's an
case.
interesting case. That's a good point.
That could
Seth.
also be the case. The point is that she entered the marriage thinking she could handle it.
And she
And
changed
she
her mind.
found that it's tough.
Yeah. Okay.
Doesn't have to be the first, it could be the second year.
Right.
All right.
Could be the
Okay.
first minute.
All right. Okay, I won't go into that story now. I know Maaseh Shahaya, unfortunately. Ad shloshim yom ya'amid parnas, said our Mishnah. For 30 days, how are we doing? Okay. For 30 days, up to 30 days, it would say, one would appoint this steward, parnas, this third party. Okay? So now we're going to get to another kind of question. Okay? If the husband appointed this third party, okay, that third party then is acting as the shaliach of the husband, isn't he? So that's going to be part of our
So how can he
question.
make the netter? It's
Okay.
his money.
So she's getting a benefit from the parents from his money.
Okay, so that's going
more
to be, the
question.
Gemara is going to now lead us in that direction with these issues. Okay. First of all, uparnis lav shlichute ka'avin, and the parnis, isn't he doing the shlichus? Okay, however we want to translate that. Okay, the being the representative, acting, right? On the behalf of the husband. Okay, Amar Rav Huna, says Rav Huna here. Okay, it's the following. Ba'omer, it's when the husband has said, Kol hazan eino mafsid. It's when the husband has basically made an announcement. Whoever does so, okay, will not lose out, implying that the person who does act as the third party is doing so of his free will.
And his own
Okay,
money.
and his own money, and eventually the husband may pay him back.
Swear it off.
Okay, v'chi amar hachi lav shlichute ka'avin, and when he says that, isn't he still doing acting
Because
as the
guy
husband's,
figures I'm gonna get paid back from him.
acting as the husband's representative? V'hatnan, but we learn, don't we learn elsewhere in a Mishnah? Mi shahaya mushlach babor, one who was fallen, let's say, or thrown into a pit. Va'amar, and he shouts out, Kol hashomea kolo, yichtov get leishto. Whoever happens to hear my voice, let him write a get for my wife, because he
The guy's
doesn't, he's afraid he
die.
can't get up. Hare elu yichtavu v'yitnu. Then those who hear him should write it and give it. Hachi hashta. How are you comparing that? Says the Gemara. Hatam ka'amar yichtov. There he clearly said that they should write something. Right?
They're his shliach.
Okay. Hacha mi ka'amar yazun. Here are we saying that that he's going
Did
to,
say,
did he specifically say that one should provide her sustenance? Kol Hazan Kama.
anybody who
What he was
does,
saying is whoever comes forward to provide sustenance for her, right? V'ha'amar Rav Ami. But here Rav Ami is saying, B'delika itiru lamar kol ha'mechaber eino mafsid. With regards to a fire,
on
okay?
Shabbos.
And it occurred on Shabbos, right? They permitted one to say, whomever comes to help put out the fire
to a
doesn't,
non-Jew,
okay?
call him a
Whomever,
Right.
okay, doesn't lose out, okay? B'deleka lema'uti mai, with regards to a fire, to exclude whoever, lav the ma'uti, ki hai gavna. Isn't it and to exclude somebody as in this case?
In other words, the fact that they're talking about a hefsid maruba, a fire, is bedafka to eliminate
This problem.
apitropas who's
Right.
taking care of the wife.
No, he says. Lema'ute sha'ar isurim de Shabbat. No, it comes there to exclude any of the other prohibitions regarding Shabbos. Meitiv Rabbah, and Rabbah brings us an answer as follows: Wema Braita, Hamoder Hana'a Mechavero. Okay, and this comes back to the earlier question, really, that we pointed out. How can that husband make a vow impacting on his wife? Can he only make a vow impacting on himself?
No, I don't.
Okay,
Go through it.
all right, we'll see. Okay, by the way, well, we'll get to that another
How
point.
can you wiggle? This is all the next piece of Gemara is.
Right.
How can you wiggle out of a vow when there's no one to cancel it and you have to wiggle out?
Well, we'll see. All right, Hamoder Hana'a Mechavero, one who makes a vow, okay, and somebody has made a vow not to benefit from his friend.
and that he can do. He's allowed
Okay.
to make a vow.
In other words,
I'm
he's
allowed to make
making
it
the
say
vow
I'm
on
not gonna have a-
himself,
Right.
right? On himself,
Self.
I will not benefit from
I'm
what.
never gonna borrow your Sansino
Okay,
Gemara.
stop.
Right.
Ve'ein lo ma yochal. But if and he doesn't have something to eat, what happens? Says the Rabbah in this, right? Yelech etzel chanvani haragil etzlo. He should go to his local grocer that he's a buddy with, Vayomarlo, and say to him, Ish ploni moder hana'a mimeni. So and so has taken a vow not to benefit from me. Ve'eni yodea ma'aselo. And I'm not sure what I can do
To
to
help him.
help him out. Hu notain lo, uba v'notel mizer. The chenvani gives to that person, and then the chenvani collects from the guy, the
right.
guy who was that the vow was against,
Right.
so to speak. Okay, hachi hu deshare, and in that case, that's permitted. Aval, but kol hazan eino mafsid. But when somebody shouts out, whomever wants to sustain her isn't going to lose, lo, that's not the
That's
case.
different.
Lo mabaye kama. No, maybe we're talking about this in the phraseology of a lo mabaye statement. Okay, it's not necessary. Namely, lo mabaye kol hazan eino mafsid. We're not saying it's not necessary to say it simply as whoever is going to give her sustenance is not going to lose. De la alma kama. Why? Because he's making it a general statement.
We just put up a sign in the show. Whoever wants to feed my wife will
Okay.
not, it won't cost them anything.
Aval, I don't know if he would do that, but haval hai. But here in this case, kevan de ragil etzlo. But since he's familiar with this,
Usually
right?
goes to the
Right.
shopkeeper.
Right? V'ka'azil, and he went, I'm going to say went to him.
Right.
Ka'amarle, and he said to him, Keman de amarle, it's as if he was saying directly to him, Zil havle at dame. Okay? Go and give it to him. That's what it seems comparable.
So Kamash Malan, it's
Kamash Malan, it's not the case. That's not the situation. Okay.
It's 9:30 yet.
No,
Huh?
not yet.
Yeah.
We got enough time to go a little further. Gufa, new piece. Let's
This
come
is-
back.
A long one.
Okay, but we're going to cite our text. Hamoder hana'ame chaveru, one who made a vow not to benefit from his friends. Ve'ein lo mayochal, and he doesn't have anything to eat. Holech etzel chenvani haragil etzlo. He goes to the storekeeper who he's buddied with. Ve'emer lo, and he says to him, Ish ploni moder hana'ami meni. So and so took a vow not to benefit from me. Ve'eni yodea ma'aselo, and I don't know what to do for him. Hu noten lo, he gives to him. Uba, he comes back later. Unotel mizeh, and he pays off the
And
chenvani.
collects from
Right,
him.
and the chenvani then collects his payment later from the fellow.
Right.
Okay, what happens? Similarly, says we need to understand. Beito livnot, if his house needs to be built, gedero ligedor, or he needs a fence set up, v'sadehu liktsor, or he needs his field to be harvested. Holech etzel po'alin harigilin etzlo, he goes to the workers that are commonly employed by him, for example. V'omer lahem, and he says to them, Ish ploni moder hana'ami meni, so and so took a vow not to benefit from me. Ve'eni yodea ma'aselo, and I don't know what to do for him. Hein osin imo, they do it with him. Uba'in v'notlin scharan mizeh, and he comes and pays them their reward, wages, their reward. Hayu mahalchin b'derech, if somebody's walking along the roadway, ve'ein imo mayochal, and he doesn't have something to eat, noten la'achad l'shum matana, la'acher, right? Noten la'acher l'shum matana. He gives to another. Give it to him as a gift,
He gives it to
There's
a
a third party walking with
right?
these two
There's
people.
three of them. He gives the three of us are walking. Okay, I can give it to Reuven.
and
Reuven
he
could
can
give it to you.
me.
Right, that's the point. Like noten la'acher, he gives it to another l'shum matana as a gift, and then that person v'hala notel v'ochel, and this one goes and then gives it to the other, and the third person eats it. Umutar, and that
allowed.
is allowed. That is permitted. V'im ein sham acher, and if there is not a third party there, right? Maniach al gabe hasela, he can put it down on a rock, right? Or al gabe hagader, or he can put it down on the fence. V'omer, and says, Harei hein mufkarin l'chol mi shechichpotz. This is all hefker for
Anybody
whoever
can
who
take
wants it can take it. V'hala notel v'ochel umutar, and the other one goes, takes it, eats it, and that is permitted. And that's where we're going to stop right there today. Okay? All right.
You gotta go check out wedding customs now,
Why?
because